Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. It's Tuesday, and it's Necro Fun Day. It's Tuesday, and this is where on the Twitch stream that I do on the Wargamer, right here, a bunch of weirdos join me. I did start with Wob, and we talk about Necromunda. Now, today we're just looking at the Necromunda news. Hello, my name's Wob. We're looking at the Necromunda news, and there's some new models that are coming out, and they look incredible. First up, we're looking at Lady Helmwar, and as the chat have pointed out earlier, it's actually insane that she's getting a model. Now, Necromunda is a game where you play with gangs, small, ragtag, the lowest of the low, the lowest street urchin that you can find, which is where I'd be living, yeah, and then they're fighting it out for literal scraps, sometimes water, sometimes just the very food that they need to survive and live. Like, the very lowest of the low. In comparison, she is a billionaire, like a trillionaire, really, because this is a hive of Necromunda is a hive of billions and billions of humans and all sorts of abhumans and etc. And she is right at the top. She's the Emperor in 40k, and she is Sigmar in Age of Sigmar. She is effectively the very top. Now, if we take the model. If we take a look at the model, it's obviously fantastic. It's this outrageously pretty model, which has been very, very popular online. Lots of people have been talking about it. As makes sense, she's at the very top. The article goes on to describe her being at the very top of society. She has access to all of the items that you would find that a 40k Imperial kind of billionaire would be able to have and gain access to. If you're not really sure how the Imperium works, and this is super important, it's a decadent society where they forgot how to make technology 10,000 years ago. Everything is basically a relic, like some stuff they can manufacture and produce, but not the really good stuff. And so the people who have all the money right here at the very tip-top of society. So she has access to stuff that may not exist in the rest of the entire universe, is how crazy that she is, like, and how much access to, like, this technology she has. Apparently, the servo skulls that she's got, so those are the little skulls holding up a cape, give her 360 vision in like AoE, so that when she does go out on the town to snipe some noobs, especially some paws, then she's got the option to do so. She also, apparently, since birth, has been responsible for the death of dozens of her siblings and anyone else who may well stand in her way to become the heir, like to gain the throne. She's the heir to the throne at the minute. So she's a very evil lady, as all billionaires are, obviously. The miniature's fantastic. She's got kind of a Russian, like Tsarist vibe to her, like the big fur hat and the fur cloak kind of reminds me of Kislev, which is a faction you can play in Total War, and soon to be probably a faction you can play in Warhammer the Old World. She's got that. Some of the campaign rules set in Ash Wasted Succession. It's basically civil war. You can either be sided with Rebellion, Unaligned, or Imperial House. So she is Imperial. As has been pointed out in the chat earlier on, the Imperium is awful. Like, you don't really tend to see that when you see Imperial Knights. You think, oh, they've got heraldry and stuff. They don't really showcase. Same with the Imperial Guard. They've got these kind of... The Imperial Guard nowadays just look like soldiers, really. But the Imperium, as viewed through Necromunda, which is probably a truer take on 40k than anything else that's put out at the minute, is horrible. She is... not as much as she looks badass, she's a vile anti-hero, like just a predatory, evil human. And apparently she likes to go out on the town and murder as many people as possible. She's got a spear that she can chuck, and on a 1 or 2, it won't return to her. So even though she's got the very best equipment available to her, a third of the time her spear will break for the rest of the battle. So this really gives you some indication that in Necromunda, like, all of the artifacts are just on their very last legs. Now, the sad part about the article and about the release of this miniature is it really hasn't told us how we would play with her in a game of Necromunda. Is she a hanger-on to a gang? Is she leading a new faction? Is she a champ on her own? No one knows. The article doesn't say, which is pretty rubbish. Yeah, the chat seemed to be a fan. Yeah, I think the chat are big fans of this miniature. Chat, let me know. Like, what you all think. There also isn't a release date on her as well. Actually, that's a great point from Scrivo in the chat. They haven't told us that there's a release date, so it's just a mini they've showed off. So it looks cool, like, and you would think that the release of effectively the Emperor in 40k, but the leader of the entire of Necromunda in Necromunda being released would be a bigger deal, but apparently it's not. Garion thinks it's amazing. Dave doesn't like it because he's not a fan of servo skulls, which kind of makes sense. They are used a lot in the Imperium. And some people who don't even play Necromunda are going to pick it up. And I think that's the big miss with this model, is the model's fantastic. They've really, really sold it with the lore and the IP, but they haven't given us how we can play or do Necromunda with it, which is maybe the weirdest thing, because this is your sales pitch right here, and they didn't do it. So there we go. Okay, cool. Looking at the rest of the releases, there are some doozies. First up, these again are going to be incredibly popular. Escher cutters. So these are some models that you're going to be able to use in your Ash Wastes expansion. So Ash Wastes is the expansion to core Necromunda. Necromunda is in the Underhives. Ash Wastes is in the open lands outside. And it's very much Mad Max-esque, if you will. It looks phenomenal. If you go and look at all of the other releases for Ash Waste, they also look really, really great. It's so exciting just getting into Necromunda now, because there's this very idea that once we've done what seems to be one of the crunchiest and most dense games to get into ever, Necromunda, in the Underhive several times, you can then look at using the expansion Ash Waste, and knowing that these miniatures and this incredible setting is available to you is actually thrilling. I genuinely don't think I've been this excited about a game system before, or in a long while, because while I know it's not a match play game system, and that's at heart who I am, I'm also very narratively read, true, but also led. And it's genuinely very exciting to see the Imperium and 40k come to life in this way, especially for the more mundane humans, although they do have jet bikes, which is going to make Space Marines pretty jealous, is all I'm going to say. They look great, though, and you can see a variety of different weapons on them, grenade launchers. It looks like you've got a good plasma gun there, which is just, these are just so good. So good. They're coming out in a new book, and we're going to talk about that new book at the end. You get some tactics cards, which you get in the book as well. So those are just nice little like rules references if you want them, and some dice, but dice to dice. Then you got the Ethera Blade of the Matriarch, and she's going to be someone that you can hire into your gang, so not necessarily just Escher related. And she looks outrageous. Kind of a question right now, which queen are you going for? Are you an Escher ganger queen, or are you more a true royalty queen? Not gonna lie, I'm going for the Escher queen. Yeah, she's just got a bit more street to her. She's not quite as fancy and highbrow as a lady Helmwar, and instead I'm much more an Ethera Blader than Matriarch. I wonder what the chat think. Gang Queen Forever getting a lot of love here, so that's interesting. And it comes along with her grumpy carted sticks. So I still researching the lore for Necromunda, but Necromunda is effectively full of these weird blue babies. Necromunda is so weird. Like, weird. That's all I'm going to say. But phenomenal sculpt. Crazy heels that have got blades on, a plasma pistol and an amazing axe. Just outrageous. And then you've got a bunch of Escher hangers on here. You've got a Shiver and an Apprentice Clan Chemist. Now, the Shiver apparently can see into the future to help predict future wars and gangs fights to help you in your games. And the Clan Chemist is obviously going to help you with drugs and poisons. Amazing paint job again. Can we talk about the leopard print and tiger print clothing on these models? They give me big Hackers vibes, if anyone's seen the film Hackers, or original Blade Runner vibes, or, you know, those kind of like almost... The more I see these miniatures, the more I feel like this is true 40k. I know that's going to sound like a crazy statement, but it feels like it's more in keeping with what I think the original ethos of what 40k maybe was meant to be. This almost ludicrous, over-the-top nature, and I absolutely love seeing these models. It feels like space fantasy, and it feels amazing. And then you've got Gorshiv Hammerfist. So he is someone you're obviously going to be able to put into your Goliath gang. He's got 2 power mauls. It's probably just a big melee fighter with a green beard. There's not really much to say about him other than the model is fantastic. And I just love Necromunda. Following on, there's an upgrade kit for Ash Wastes for your... Escher gang. And again, one of those things that we talked about just as a moment ago in the chat, we said... no other game system is supported like this. Like, Imperial Guard should be getting upgrade kits, and they aren't. It's nuts that Necromunda gets these, and it's fantastic. Like, you have got the ability to customize directly from Games Workshop. Obviously, you can customize lots of Space Marine Legions and lots of generally Warhammer products with 3D printed parts, but this is pretty amazing, right? Just really great. And then we looked at the Underhive traders the other day, and then we also saw the big Kronos pattern Iron Crawler, which is available again for Ash Wastes. So overall, just an amazing set of minis. But this is the problem that I need to address right now as someone just getting into Necromunda. Someone made this point online, and I think it's deeply fair. If I wanted to get into Necromunda right now, like if I wanted to play maybe Ash Waste, or even if I didn't want to, I think I need to pick up like 2 to 3 books, which is going to set me like £90 to £100 off, like before I even buy a mini. And the barrier to entry, and then I know the rules are incredibly dense. And you're going to say to me, hey, Rob, like, if you don't like the game system or you think the rules are too dense, then why the hell are you even getting into it? It's a super fair question. I really understand it. And it's because it's really the setting, the IP, and the miniatures that have really, really got me. Like, and this is the weird thing, because I feel like the same people would ask me that question. The same people would say it should be a miniatures for, oh, you should pick what's cool. Pick the things that you think are cool. Pick the things that you like. And I like these. I think that they're wicked. I think they've got great models. I think the lore is fantastic. I think the lore is maybe more in keeping with the original ethos of 40k than 40k currently is. I think it's like just great from all fields. Yet it's a wildly dense game with an incredibly high buy-in financially before I even buy a mini. And that bit is a little bit frustrating. Now, obviously, I'm going to go find all the books online for free. Because I'm not stupid and I'm not one of those content creators who go like, and there's no solution. Like, there's a solution, and I'm going to go solve that solution. So I'm only going to spend my money on the minis and not buy it on the books, because obviously that's ludicrous because they're getting my money for the minis. But it's a bit of a shame that it's so it's a huge financial barrier, and it's also a huge kind of like game barrier because it's super techy. So, but maybe all RPGs are like that. Maybe on my journey of finding out what RPGs are like, this is going to be me being like, well, this is what RPGs are like, and it's super cool. I'm looking forward to it either way, and getting more into it. And I'm very excited to deep dive the minis that they keep bringing out, because it has to be one of the best supported games they have. So the minis are fantastic. To be fair, more books mean more rules, which means more story, which means more stuff. Maybe they're of value, they're probably not, but very exciting all round. So there we go. Lots and lots of love from me to you. I hope you enjoyed this, and see you soon. Bye. Just keep being a weirdo.